Welcome to the Master of None podcast. Adventures in a hands-on life. Build. Grow. Cook. Train. Explore. So a couple weeks ago, we began a discussion with Daniel and Katie Hackett, and the whole discussion really ended up being about pursuing a healthy mind, body, and spirit. And had a really good discussion, and so this episode of the podcast is the conclusion of that discussion. If you didn't catch the first half, and you're interested, I would encourage you to just go ahead and go back and listen to that, and maybe the second half this week will make more sense, or just jump right in and I'm sure you'll figure it out. So we're going to go ahead and jump right back in where we left off with the Hacketts. So I think that kind of covers all of my particular personal anecdotal stories that I wanted to talk about with the with the essential oils. You did bring up the frankincense when you were talking about the biblical essential oils package, though, and that is one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. It is also more expensive, so I kind of save it for special occasions. But
me too.
The aroma of the frankincense, like, I don't know what there is about it. Like, just diffusing it is awesome. And it's just an aroma that I absolutely love. But I understand that it has some other uses, some other things that people kind of use it for also. Are you familiar with like other uses of the frankincense?
I mean, first off, I would say I agree with you. There's something very powerful about the way it smells, and it definitely lifts my mood. Like if I'm having a bad day, or if I know like the children are driving me crazy, I will definitely put that in the diffuser, like you said, if I'm willing to use it. Or I'll put a little on if I'm just feeling it just really seems to calm me down. And I think it is one for me in particular that I just connect with. I really just am drawn to it. Which happens a lot. Some people, like you guys, you and Daniel in the vetiver, like I am not drawn to vetiver in the same way. Maybe frankincense more so. But, actually I have a little story with my mom. She hurt her back, and, she had been taking some traditional stuff to kind of help her try and see if she could get some of the feeling away that she had. And she had taken it for a couple of days, and I was like, Mom, do you mind if I just put some frankincense on you? And so we got a little bit of carrot oil, and I mixed a couple of drops in with it, because frankincense is very, very safe. Like, it's not like a hot oil. Some oils, for example, like oregano, will be hot, and you have to dilute them, maybe like one.
And by hot, you mean like it would kind of give you a burning sensation,
right? Like a hot. But like frankincense is not. But so we mixed it with carrot oil just because it also helps with absorbency, and just easily can spread it around more and stuff like that. But I put it on where she was hurting, and she was like, "Wow!" Like, probably 5-10 minutes later, she went to lay down, but she was like, that totally took it all away, and she wasn't having any issues anymore. And which was pretty cool, because my mom's, she's in the medical field, and she's not completely comfortable with the idea of using the oils topically like that. She will diffuse them or whatever, but it was pretty cool that she let me do it, and to have, to help her and say, I think this might help, some of the feelings that you're having and discomfort, and to have it be totally taken away was really awesome, and to help her out. So, just things like that. would be an example of, besides just the uplifting aroma and just the feelings of happiness. And I also will say that I have put it on for church. And I think, have you put it on for church before?
I don't believe so.
No? Okay. Anyway, I just find that my worship experience is much more enhanced if I do. So.
I love that you brought that up, because I totally would. And now that you mentioned that, I think I'm going to. Because my experience with frankincense, like diffusing it especially, is that it puts me in such a more meditative and grateful mood. Which is like perfect for going to church. And I think, I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not, like frankincense, like I smell it and I just like picture myself in church and in like a Greek Orthodox church, because they actually burn frankincense, right?
Just waving it around.
Like, let's face it, the Baptist church smells like a mix of like Play-Doh and grape juice and sweat. Right. But all kidding aside, seriously, like the frankincense puts me in such a meditative, prayerful, grateful mood that like that would be awesome. I hadn't actually thought of putting some frankincense on before going to church. So
yeah, definitely try it out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And, we talk about like, this one's really expensive, but in reality, like the amount of mileage that you get out of the little bottle of frankincense, it's actually not that expensive. That said, like I felt in a way that like I have my safe where I have like, some gold and silver and stuff that we have.
Yeah.
Whatever. Part of me felt like I should take my frankincense and set it next to the gold on the shelf in the safe, because it's like to me it's like that good, like that precious and important. And I guess that's one of the reasons why it was one of the gifts to Christ. Absolutely,
you're right.
Yeah.
Back in the day, frankincense was valued more than gold. And you're right, you just nailed it. Like it was pretty much higher than gold, and that's why it was you pretty much said it.
So that kind of rounds out my list here, because I wrote down a list that I just did not want to miss on some of my kind of personal anecdotal experiences with some of these oils. So I have a few more questions for you. As though I was someone just getting into oils, or someone completely unfamiliar with the use of essential oils who's interested. Can you address any like concerns, risks, safety? Like we've already kind of talked about the sourcing, and particularly from Young Living. But what are just some of the common questions that you get around like safety and risk concerns that people have before they go into using some of these oils? And I'll give you an example that is a question I asked you. Like when I got my starter kit, I open it up and I'm like, why do 2 of these oils have childproof lids on them?
Yes.
So that was like my question. That's kind of one of those safety questions, right? And so maybe just address some of those common questions that you get.
Okay. So I guess first I would just kind of lay it out there that, there's different ways to use the essential oils. One is just you can open up the cap and just inhale straight from the bottle, which is awesome. You can put it, in the diffuser like we talked about. We also talked about using it topically with carrier oil.
Can you real quick just kind of describe what the diffuser is and how it works?
Yeah.
Because we've talked about that a few times, and I just realized we haven't actually told people. Like, they're like, a diffuser, what's that?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, so a diffuser is, well, okay. Maybe you and Daniel together can talk more about how it works, but it's a vessel.
It's a replacement for a candle.
Yes. And you put water in it, and, you know, like they tell you how much to put in and stuff like that. And it is, you know, you should try and use clean water if you can have access to it. You know, a lot of times maybe like distilled water, like, you know, whatever, but if, you know, whatever water you have, just use it. And it pretty much, you just put, like, I put like 8 to 10 drops. Usually I put around 8 drops of the essential oil in after I fill up the diffuser with water. And, it just kind of pumps out.
Kind of like a fancy humidifier.
Yeah, fancy. Yeah, if you want to think of it as a humidifier.
I think it uses like some sort of like little sonic vibration instead of heat.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it is different from your. It's definitely not a humidifier. Like, I should say that you cannot put essential oils in a humidifier. That is definitely a no. They are definitely made different. Specifically, Young Living diffusers are made with a higher quality plastic, so they won't, you know, that they'll hold up longer, and that they are able to, they won't break down from, you know, anything. They're just a higher quality. So, I mean, so that's pretty much it. And they make them, you know, somewhat decorative, so it's not like just this black ugly stick in the middle of your table or whatever. But so that's a diffuser. And then, you know, just kind of, you know, that would probably be one of the more popular ways to use it. And then I mentioned, topically with the carrier oil, and a carrier oil is, you can use coconut oil, you can use almond oil, and it just helps, like I think I mentioned, with the absorbency of it, so that they don't evaporate as quickly on your skin, and just kind of can spread them out.
Make it go a little further. You still get that same, the same aroma with like more volume. Yeah. Yeah. And I find that my diffuser, like, if people are like, well, how long does it last? Like, if I'm using it as a candle replacement, like, first of all, if I'm burning a candle, which, like I said, after starting to use the oils with the diffuser, we pretty much stopped using candles because they're just not as effective. And it's like, ugh. Like, well, you start using that like pure clean oil, and you're like, this is wonderful. And then the candle's just like kind of not as appealing after that. But the candle, like, I have to remember to blow it out before I go to bed, right?
Yeah.
The diffuser, if it's still running, once it runs out, it just stops. And I find that, like, and I kind of shoot for the same thing, about 8 or 9 drops total of whatever oil it is. So if I'm doing just one, I'll do like 8 drops of it. If I'm doing a blend of 2, I might do like 4 drops of each or something like that.
Right.
And I think on like full blast, because it has different settings, on like full blast, the diffuser will run like, I don't know, like 8 or 10 hours.
Yeah. I haven't memorized it, but there's an awesome breakdown of, you know, when you buy an expensive candle, say, you know, a popular brand is Yankee Candle, like, you could probably do the math, you know, like, about how many hours you get out of the candle versus what you're paying. I don't know exactly what it is,
but they're not cheap.
You could do it. Right. And you could do it for, I mean, so if you want to compare costs, you know, to how long you're running the diffuser, and then how many drops are in the bottle and stuff like that. Like, it.
Well, and let's face it, like, a lot of us would like light a candle, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy the candle, have a couple glasses of wine.
Yeah.
Go to bed, forget about the candle. Wake up in the morning and be like, oh, that candle's been burning all night. Not only did I have like an open flame in my house, like, not that it's a huge fire hazard, but not only did I have an open flame in my house, but I've just burned through like half of my candle overnight.
Yeah, exactly. But when you just use the drops of oil, you're like, oh, it's no big deal. And the skin off my back, that was just a few drops.
Right. Yeah. And you just plan on it diffusing the whole thing. So, yeah. So are there any other questions you get? Sorry to interrupt you about the diffuser, because that was kind of a tangent to explain what the diffuser is, because we've been talking about that. Any other common questions that you get that people are concerned about safety or risks or anything like that with using the oils?
I mean, just to kind of recap some of the things that we talked about, like there's no long list of side effects that you have to worry about. And that also, Young Living specifically is so safe because it's not anything but pure essential oils. So you don't have to worry about what you're investing your money into, and you know that it comes from a place that really cares about every single step of the process. So there's no chemicals involved. So whatever you're using you're literally just getting the aroma of the plant and nothing else. So that is a huge ease of mind, because there's like over 86,000 chemicals that are in that just are out there, and only like a very small percentage, maybe like 2% of them are actually regulated. All of the rest of them they're just kind of out there, but you don't have to worry about any of them being in any of the Young Living products. So that's a huge peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. Right. And a lot of those, like, we could probably like get a doctor on and do a whole episode on like some of those hidden like estrogen imitators.
Yeah.
And stuff absolutely. Like that are in a lot of those products and aren't really regulated or tested, but we know have like these crazy effects on people. And like you're saying with the Young Living products, you know that all you're getting is that pure oil from that plant. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. For anybody who's interested in, like, what is he talking about? You can go to the American Cancer Society and learn about breast cancer and how it's like 1 in 3 women will get breast cancer, and a big cause of that is because of endocrine disruptors, which are no new thing. It's something that actually when I was in college, I remember hearing about those, and that was back in 2009. So it's something that's, like I said, it's not new, and they pretty much, they're called endocrine disruptors because they pretty much tell your hormones to either overproduce or underproduce. Mm-hmm. And it's becoming a huge concern because your body's not responding the way it should. And it obviously can lead to cancer. So I would say definitely look more into endocrine disruptors and educate yourself, because they're everywhere. And which is also why I really enjoy essential oils versus other things, like you're talking about fragrance, and dryer sheets, and they're literally everywhere. Anything that has a fragrance is a type of endocrine disruptor, and the more you put it on your body, or the more that you're inhaling it, it's just accumulating in your body, and those xenoestrogens is what they're called. They store in the fat cells of your body, and it's just this horrible thing that your body doesn't know how to get rid of, and it just sits there and it's confusing your body. So then, another good reason why instead of fragrance, you could use essential oils. And I actually I make a lot of I make deodorant. What else? I actually make our lotion, and I make my face moisturizer. Just for some examples, I like to experiment, so it makes it fun. But I make sure I research it beforehand of like these very simple things like mango butter or shea butter or whatever. And so I get the base and I make the lotion, and then I can add
Right,
whatever.
you can add whatever you want to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Right.
And
I will actually admit that I added a drop or two of thieves oil to a glass of red wine, and
oh yeah,
it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's
To make like a spice wine, I'm like, now it's healthy because I'm using thieves oil.
I have an essential oil fail that turned Daniel off. Do you remember when I put it in your coffee?
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah, I can't think of any that I would use in my coffee.
Well, I had put a drop in my tea, and I was like, Daniel, you gotta try this. This is really good. He's like, no. And then I think like one morning he had coffee, and I was like, I'll just put one drop. Well, 3 drops came out.
You know what I do put in my coffee though?
What?
Nothing. I don't put anything in my coffee ever.
Yeah, neither does he. So that's also why it was ruined. Yeah, so that was a total fail. Like even I tried it and I was like, yeah, that was too much. Like just a little too strong.
Right.
But that's cool. I'm glad you like it in your wine.
So yeah, if anybody's like, I don't really want to make my own face moisturizer, like just pour a glass of wine, add a drop of thieves oil to it, have a little spiced wine, and yeah. But no, you're absolutely right. There's like so much stuff you can do with it too. Like you're not limited to just like oral topical application or diffusing. Like there's a lot that you can do with it. Like the dryer balls, or like I suppose like if somebody is making their own soap or something like that and they want to add aroma to soap, there are ways to use the oils for that. So there are just so many applications. Like they're the basic ones, and then if you really want to get creative with it, it's limitless what you can do with it. So
yeah, I know. I love the versatility too.
One of my recommendations for people, if they're still listening at this point in our conversation, and they're actually interested in this, and check this out, you're not going to believe how I bring this conversation full circle.
Okay.
Just how when you're fishing and you target one species of fish and figure that one out and figure out the nuances of that species of fish, like carp versus trout or walleye, I would encourage people to kind of do the same thing with their oils, approach them the same way. Instead of, you're not going to say, I'm going to become a fisherman and a week from now I'm going to know the basics of fishing for every species of fish. It's like, no. You have to figure them out one at a time. Yeah. I would encourage people to kind of do the same thing with their oils if they're interested in using some of these oils, and not just be like, I'm going to start using essential oils across the board. Figure out one at a time and what you're going to use that oil for.
Yes.
So with that in mind, if somebody is interested in getting into essential oils, can you give me like 3 oils? Because I know that you have like the starter kit that I started with. Yeah. But that one had like 16 or 18 or whatever, and then I actually ordered like a couple more with it because I was like all in, as I kind of tend to do when I get into something. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, like head first, dive in, I'm all in, I'm going to figure it out. But I just threw you on the ground. I'm sorry.
Ouch.
If somebody is interested in getting into oils and maybe they want to start with like 3, can you give me what your recommendation would be for your top 3 for someone to start with? If they're like, okay, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to get 3, figure those out, and then move on from there.
I would say number 1 would be lavender. Lavender is nicknamed the Swiss Army knife of essential oils. It is, it's funny, but it's so true. it's really cool how many different uses it has. It can be used for. The second one would be thieves. We talked about thieves. And then the third one would be peppermint. Peppermint is also just really versatile too. And, you know, like just not only the fragrance, but, you know, like we drink peppermint tea and, you know, peppermint hot chocolate, like whatever, you know, it's just, we already are familiar with it and, but it also smells really good. And, yeah, you would find it very useful.
Right. Well, and I know people also like, you know, maybe rub peppermint on their chest for the, like, I guess I don't know, menthol effect.
Right.
Of inhaling some of that peppermint that's like rubbed on their chest.
Yeah.
So
very refreshing.
Yeah, no, I like that as a starter list of 3 if somebody's just wanting to get into it. So along those same lines, give me some real specifics. If someone's like, okay, tell me like what website to go to or who to call or who to email. I wanna get my 3 oils, my lavender, thieves, and peppermint.
Right.
I wanna go ahead and order them up and get them delivered to my house. What are the next steps? So go ahead and tell me, should they get in contact with you? Should they get in contact with someone with locally? Like, tell me, just point me in the right direction.
Sure. So I guess if you're a researcher, I would say visit youngliving.com because, that's what I would do first. Like if if you know somebody, talk to your friend. Definitely go local because the more local support you can have, the better. Because I love my community of people because they're so supportive, they're so knowledgeable, they're accessible. You know, I can call them or visit and just, you know, get lots of different advice on whatever questions I have. So definitely, you know, check out the website and just kind of explore it for yourself. And then if you do know somebody locally who does use Young Living, definitely connect with them. But then if you don't, I am more than willing to connect with anybody who has questions. I think, the best way to contact me would be through, email, which, you know, I made my email address a while ago and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I'll just use my whole name. And now it's like, I realize how long it is, but, I think, so we could just give them my email.
Sure. Oh, we can, if you want, we'll just put that on the show notes for the episode. So anybody who's wanting to get in contact with you can go on the masterofnonepodcast.com, go to this episode, and in the notes for the episode, we'll just put your email there so they don't have to like write it down right now or something.
Yes.
So
I think that sounds perfect. Thanks.
We will do that.
Yeah. And just, the main reason, so there, I guess the reason I wanted to speak more onto that is, it's important to have the support because there are, like you said, it's something that you have to learn, and they do have over 600 products. Like there's a lot to look through. There's a lot to learn. So it's really important. And one of the things that I have really, really, really enjoyed is the relationships that have been built through, connecting with people on essential oils. Isaac, come on, we were friends, but now we're even better friends. And I know Daniel, even after we got off the phone one time, Daniel is like, well, good. I'm glad that my best friend is talking with my other best friend.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I think it's important to connect with somebody on it because if you don't know what you're doing, it could be very overwhelming.
Totally. Well, that's why, like you said, there were like 600 some products. So I wanted to like narrow it down to 3 for somebody who's like, I'm going to go look at this. And then it's totally overwhelming because there's so much available, but you don't have to start sorting your way through all of those 600 products. Like maybe start with one or two or three of all of those three that we suggested, and then expand out from there.
Yeah, I think it's important to just be comfortable with making that jump and saying like, well, I am really interested and I have a ton of questions.
Right.
But that's okay. Like you can still, whether you want to buy a starter kit or if you like, and there are different sizes of starter kits. You don't have to get the 12, oils,
right.
even though the value is incredible. It's important to try and find what suits you and just get started,
right.
and you can answer your questions as you go. And we already talked about the risks are very minimal,
Well, I should mention,
really.
Just as an example, like this is another whole rabbit trail to go down that we won't go down right now.
Okay.
Like we've talked about all of these like kind of health uses for some of these oils, right? But there's a whole like Facebook group that's solely devoted to gardening uses of these oils.
Yeah.
And so there's so many different applications of these products that like once you start doing some research and getting into it, like start with one or two or three, and then like it's just endless from there. And if you decide to like stick with one, like I mentioned before, if I could only have one, it would be Thieves, and I'd be okay. Like if I just wasn't interested in learning more about more of the different oils and more of the different uses and all of that stuff and health applications, and I'm probably not going to get into the cosmetics, just being honest. Probably not. Hunting applications, I'm going to start my own Facebook group on essential oils for hunting.
Okay.
Not really. Gardening, all of that stuff, like the applications, if you want to go further, you can. If you want to be like, I've found this one product that really works for this one thing, or I found that for me, it works for this. That's great. And stick with that too.
Yeah. It's always just, it's like a lot of things. It's whatever you want out of it, whatever you put into it is what you'll get out of it. And, you don't have to join the Facebook group. You could just, you
don't have to start selling oils. Yeah. You can just, once a year buy your one bottle of Thieves oil and use it throughout the year and be good with that. That's fine. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. They, because I guess the main difference is like you can go and buy it online, at, retail price. But if you become a member, then you save 24%, off of what you buy. So that's also a big difference of, becoming a member and signing up. So.
Right. Well, that's awesome. We covered a lot and we've been talking for like 2 hours. So we should move on into the kind of the conclusion portion that we always do. Yeah. Before we do that though, do you have any other, thoughts or stories or anything that you have wanted to share about the essential oils before we move on from that?
The only other thing that I would say is, if anyone was interested in learning more, about their health and essential oils, there's a really good book that they could look into. It's called Your Health Has Been Hijacked and It's Time to Take It Back by Dr. Tom Reed. Okay. He is a double board certified medical and surgical specialist. He's been practicing for 35 years. And he just, we talked about endocrine disruptors and some other things involved with our health and stuff. And his book covers a lot of concern about, chronic diseases we hear about so frequently and why they're becoming such a big concern. And he looks deep into chemicals and, pharmaceutical industry, corruption and cover-ups and stuff like that. And I personally haven't read it myself, but it has gotten a lot of praise and a lot of people just really love what he has to say in this book. And so, like I said, anyone just looking for additional resource and what things we were talking about tonight, that would be a really good book to get.
Okay. And we'll put a link to that also in the show notes, so everybody doesn't have to remember right now. And all of the Master of None listeners are used to book recommendations because we always do at least one book recommendation per month in our bonus episodes.
Cool.
It's kind of like a book club too. A very eclectic and dispersed book club, but we will add that to the show notes for sure, so that people can look that up and do some more of their own research, like we talked about, if they want to dive deeper into that.
Okay.
So, moving on to kind of the conclusion portion that I do with all of our guests, and I always have 3 questions. And these are going to be for each of you, and I suspect, knowing both of you, I suspect we're going to do the first 2 questions are going to be different for each of you, so I'll ask them individually, and then the third question is probably the same for both of you, so you can answer that jointly. So this is the Master of None podcast, obviously. The idea being a jack of all trades is a master of none, and the rest of that saying is, but oftentimes better than a master of one. The whole idea behind the podcast is that in each episode we kind of dive into a different skill or area of knowledge or something, and it ranges from cheese making to survival to carpentry to gardening and just about everything in between, right? So my question for each of you, first question is, what is a master of none, quote, skill that you currently have no experience with that you would like to learn?
Go ahead. You can go first.
I got this one first?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say like woodworking and carpentry. I think there's been times in my past where I'll be like, oh yeah, I could buy this thing and like fix it up and make it look nice, or I should just, I wish I could just build that. So that would be mine.
Nice.
Probably cheese making. I even got a book about it, but I've never actually. Well, we made some mozzarella.
Yeah, when we were
in the Peace Corps.
Nice.
And it wasn't bad.
I have to ask, was it the microwave mozzarella?
No.
Okay, because there is a microwave version of mozzarella.
No.
Pretty awesome, but
really hard. First of all, we didn't have a microwave in Azerbaijan.
That's right, you didn't. And we didn't even talk about you guys in Azerbaijan.
No.
We have to at least hit on that real quick, but go ahead with the cheese making. Go ahead.
No, we researched, we asked our local friends, and
we actually went to the bazaar to get some buffalo milk for it.
Yeah, and we had to find the liquid rennet, and that was interesting.
That was a chore. Yeah. Well, we did it.
We did.
It was hard to find anything, any specific thing in Azerbaijan. So, can you, now that you brought that up, can you tell the audience a little bit about your experience there in the Peace Corps? Just sure. Real briefly. Go for it.
Yeah. You're better at brief, and you haven't talked very much.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
So, basically, when we decided to get out of the Coast Guard and go see the world, Katie said, what about the Peace Corps? I said, sure. So we applied, and we were sent to Azerbaijan. We were offered the opportunity to serve in Azerbaijan, and we accepted. And we spent 2 years there, serving as community development volunteers, working in the southern region of Lankaran, which is about an hour north of the Iranian border. And we ended up staying with 2 host families during that time, and then we kind of went off out on our own and just had an amazing experience learning about the Azeri culture and teaching the Azeris about American culture. And, when people had ideas and thoughts, programs that they wanted to, or projects that they wanted to try to do, then we would do our best to step in and try to connect them with some resources that we might have available to them to help them do those projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we kind of went in thinking we were gonna, save the whole country, but
Isn't that like what every Peace Corps volunteer does?
Yeah.
Like they think they're gonna save the world, and then
yeah,
Yeah.
you end up coming home and be like, oh, that was actually about them saving me,
Right.
not,
Right.
like it was more my benefit than them.
yeah. And that was like we came over and saw you guys over there. That was so much fun to see Azerbaijan, a place that had you guys not been there, like that.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't want to go, but like it wouldn't have been on my radar to visit Azerbaijan, and it's so cool to like every time I get to go to some new place and experience, a new place, new culture, new geography, and not to mention in Azerbaijan, seeing like very different cultures there. Like, where you were in Lankaran versus up in, what's the capital? Baku, right? Versus up in the Talish Mountains, like three very vastly different places. That was just so much fun and so cool to come visit you guys over there. So,
Agreed.
Yeah, we're glad you came.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, cheese making. It's something that, as you know, I've gotten into recently, and it's kind of fun and definitely not a money saver.
I have been wondering where do you get your milk from when you?
The grocery store.
Okay. I was like, maybe he has a really cool source. I don't know. I know. One day it will be your own cows. I know.
Right. Yeah. No, and if I wanted to go to the effort, I could, but like I'm kind of trying to focus on one thing at a time, like just learning how to make the cheese, and then, if I wanted to source the milk from like some, local grass-fed dairy of some sort, that would be like kind of adding a layer of complexity to it. And I'm like, I need to just figure out how to make cheese first.
Yeah.
And then I can branch out from there. So, but like I said, even sourcing the milk from like the cheapest milk source, just from the grocery store, like once it's converted into cheese, I've found in general, and this may tell you something about like our kind of industrial agricultural system, which is another whole discussion.
Yeah.
The fact that cheese can be made so cheaply almost makes me sad, because like, for example, I can take a gallon of milk, and if I'm making Parmesan, out of a gallon of milk, I think I get about 8 to 10 ounces of finished Parmesan cheese, right?
Wow.
So that gallon of milk costs me maybe like $3.50, right?
Yeah.
Or I can go buy Parmesan cheese for like $3.50 for 10 ounces. So it's like, it's actually like the same price just for the milk, never mind, some of the other ingredients, the time, the labor, all of that. So it's really not, it's not a money saver. It's just a hobby, really.
Yeah, I know.
Yogurt, on the other hand, is a huge money saver, because out of a gallon of milk, I can make a gallon of yogurt. Mm-hmm. So that one's like, that totally makes sense to do that on your own.
Yeah.
Because it's actually way cheaper. But the cheese, not so much. So that's fun that that's something that you're wanting to experiment with too. So the next question for each of you, kind of the other side of that coin, what is a skill that you feel that you have that you would like to teach to someone else? And this is a little harder. Like, there are all sorts of things that we all want to learn, but then having the confidence to say, this is something that I have a handle on that I could actually teach to someone and pass my knowledge to somebody else. That I understand can be a harder question, but what's a skill that you would like to teach to someone?
Okay, so you made me go first last time, so it's your turn.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think right now the thing that I know best that I actually do kind of help people out with is water treatment, which is kind of odd, I guess. But it just happens to be the profession that I find myself in right now. And it's really fascinating just where people get their water from and depending on where your water comes from, there's things that you can do to, make it better for you. And I've just been learning a lot about that recently, and it's something that I think is worth sharing with other people. But maybe more so in places that don't necessarily have as ready access to clean water and don't take it as much for granted as we might here in the States.
Nice. That's kind of funny to me that you brought that up because I'm not exactly sure when this episode is going to drop, but whenever it drops, somewhere within the last 2 or 3 episodes, I actually did an episode where I drank my own urine.
Actually, Katie mentioned that to me.
Yeah, we have it.
So, like, cheese making and water treatment, we've got this covered.
All right, good job. There you go.
Now, for anybody who didn't listen to that episode, don't worry. It was totally safe, and I used all sorts of... I scienced it. And so it was pure water, like as clean as the distilled water that you can buy from the grocery store. Totally clean, pure water. But yeah, that's just funny that's that water treatment is what you brought up, and that's awesome because that's like, how would I put this? That's not a frivolous skill. I don't know if I call it a skill or a science or whatever. Like, that's such a basic human thing that could improve the quality of life for so many people globally. Having better water treatment facilities, whether it's on a small scale, if it's something they're doing on the roof of their house or something they're doing on a larger scale in their village or city or whatever, that's something that could just vastly improve the quality of life for millions of people around the world. So that's awesome.
Yep.
So, Katie, it's your turn. What are you going to teach?
I'm going to go with how to drive a stick.
Okay.
Nice.
I think I could take partial credit for that.
Yeah, he taught me.
Hey.
So, yeah,
right there with you, 'cause
that's about as skilled as I feel, like, confident in. So, if you need to learn how to drive a manual, I'm there.
That's awesome. You know that they sometimes call that the millennial anti-theft device.
I have not heard that. That's fantastic.
Because I know that, like, no one under the age of, I don't know, 30, 35 knows how to drive a stick.
Yeah.
I know. That's why I said it. I'm like, that is a lost skill. So.
That's awesome. I actually kind of sadly got rid of my stick shift about a month ago. Finally. Yeah. So might have to find some other vehicle that's a stick shift. It'd be a good podcast episode or two. Maybe I can get like an old like World War II Army surplus CJ Willie's Jeep or whatever.
That would be interesting.
That'd be fun. Put it together and because my kids, like, when they're ready to drive, they need to learn how to drive a stick, right? That's one of those life skills. It's critical. Especially
if they're ever gonna travel or
right. Even my tractor is not a stick shift anymore.
Oh really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I know. It's like, this is almost too easy. Right?
That's crazy. I was just driving my grandpa's Alice Chalmers today thinking, and George, our 4-year-old, was sitting on my lap thinking, hey, this is going to be how he learns how to drive stick.
Nice. Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Now you really want to step it up a notch. Actually, Daniel was there for both of these experiences in both Scotland and Ireland, where they drive on the left.
Yeah.
Should we even go there?
Driving a stick and driving on the left at the same time.
It's a quick way to learn. It's really
right.
trial by
And
fire.
then when you come back to driving on the right, it's like easy. It's like, oh, all I have to deal with is this stick. We've got this. I don't have to pay attention to all this other stuff that's the opposite of what I'm used to.
Yep. And we got these wide open American roads, not these
condensed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember like literally they had lanes painted on the road in Ireland that were narrower than the wheelbase of the tiny car that we were driving.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do you even bother painting lanes when it's narrower than my car?
And they got these rock walls that are like, seriously, a couple inches from your...
Yeah.
Right? You actually have to hold your breath and go when you drive through. Otherwise, you'd scrape your sides.
Yep. Good times.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure. So, last question. And you guys can answer this. It's fine if you have the same answer, or you can answer individually, whatever. And I haven't come up with I want to come up with a good name for this question, like what I actually call it. So for now, we're going to call it a stretch goal. So the question is, what's your current stretch goal? And by stretch goal, I mean something that you are working toward that you couldn't just, like right now, you couldn't just go out and do it by throwing some, say, time and money at it. And I think we were talking on the phone the other day about this idea. And the example I gave you is, there's a mountain nearby that I can drive to and hike up. And it's like a 20-minute drive, and I could literally throw on my tennis shoes and hike up, and it's simply an investment of time to do it. Mm-hmm. So summiting that mountain does not count as a stretch goal, because all I have to do is invest the time and go do it. Whereas if my stretch goal was to summit Everest or something like that, I don't currently have the resources, the gear, the physical conditioning, the mental conditioning, any of that. Like simply throwing time and money at it is not going to get me to the top of Everest. Right. So that would be, although I'm not planning on an Everest summit anytime soon, that would be a stretch goal, as opposed to hiking this mountain nearby that all I have to do is drive over and hike up. Right. So the question is, what is your current stretch goal? Because I believe that everybody should always have a stretch goal. Like as soon as you hit your stretch goal, find another one.
Yeah.
So everybody should always be working on one. What's yours right now?
Well, ours is kind of two-part, but the main thing would be not as exciting as climbing a mountain, but just really staying committed to getting rid of my college debt. So, because really that's a big part of what we're concentrating on and putting all of our effort into. And that's, we hired a financial advisor who is also a Coast Guard friend.
Mm-hmm. Was also featured on the Master of None podcast, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
He did a bonus episode. And,
yeah. So he's awesome. We've enjoyed that. And it's honestly changed our view on finances and money. And it's really helped us to, focus more on what, just how we're spending our money and how we're making money and stuff like that. Do you want to add to that?
Could I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
I've found, and maybe you found the same thing, that kind of taking ownership of that and getting a plan together almost helps you focus less on money. Like, where especially in a negative way. Like when you don't have a plan, when you don't know what's going on, it's like it's this constant. It can be a constant worry and a constant source of stress.
Yeah.
And once you face it, it's like you have to think less about it because it's not that constant source of stress anymore.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. Because, I mean, I would say at first, maybe the stress just kind of changed a little bit because you're learning. You know how to adapt to a new way of budgeting and stuff like that. But, yeah, I agree with your saying. Do you have anything to add on that?
Well, missions, I think.
Oh, yeah. So so the getting rid of the debt is... Go ahead.
Well, that's kind of I think I see where you're going with it. The getting rid of the debt is kind of a means to an end, which is like your real, like, bigger stretch goal, right?
Yeah.
Right. The bigger stretch goal would be the call to missions. And to the things that we need to do to fulfill that goal. Like you said, financially is one of it. Spiritually and just getting ourselves ready to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And just all the different aspects that you have to do for it.
Yeah. I mean, we're hoping maybe in 4 years, we'll be headed off to some unknown land and be hopefully, active international workers.
Yeah.
Nice. So do you have any of the details on that you're ready to share, or if not, that's totally fine. Is it, for sure an international thing, or
Sure.
Or do you have a particular destination yet, or is that still kind of up in the air? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, I think we're through this whole thing, it's been kind of unexpected, and God's really just kind of inserted his
Call.
his way into our lives. So I think staying open as much as we can, trying to keep the dialogue with him is a big part of it. Right now, we feel like he's called us to Mongolia, specifically, possibly the western part of Mongolia that has a subculture that is very similar to the Azeri culture that we served in the Peace Corps. Of course, God's will has frequently changed. We'll see if that's what ends up, but right now that's kind of that's what we've got our eye on. And it all depends on, the doors opening, so it's trusting in him that if this is the call, that the doors will open that need to open when they're supposed to open. And,
yeah, for sure.
We'll do what we need to do to get ready for it, get our kids ready for it. Make sure that we're talking to them about, these types of things and helping them, spiritually and socially to kind of be ready for that. And then, taking any kind of education that we can get our hands on to help increase both our biblical knowledge,
like ministry leadership type of stuff.
Yeah. But then also any skills that we can pick up that might help us. We're looking to do a community development again type of service. So, so like the water, is something that could be very beneficial wherever we go. So, picking up skills like that.
Sure. So tell me, where did, Mongolia, how did that conversation go? Both internally and with each other. Why Mongolia of all places?
Good, great question, Isaac. Great question.
Well,
I will insert there. If you need some practice, I've been told before that where I live is very much like Western Mongolia / Northern Siberia. So you can come visit in the winter if you need some practice. Just, this is what it's like.
Interesting interesting side note. The some of the first folks that were going to head over there once it kind of opened up, in order to get ready for it, they went into the Western United States and served in organizations that were working with Native Americans. Because
it totally makes sense. Yeah.
Language and the culture was very similar, so they practiced by serving them, so that when the country would open up, they could go over having had some experience of something similar.
No, that's fascinating that you mentioned that, because now I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about like topography, climate, like semi-nomadic, small tribe, horse people, like. There just tons of similarities. That's fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And when you say first open up, you're talking about like fall of the Soviet Union, like early 90s era, or okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Mid to late 80s. People were starting to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want a good book about it, you can read There's a Sheep in My Bathtub, which is just fascinating.
Yeah. And we'll put that one for sure. We'll put that one on the show notes too, because like if you haven't gotten anything else out of this episode, like go read There's a Sheep in My Bathtub.
Yes.
It's fantastic. So yes, let's see. So the call, when we felt like we'd received the call and we were looking into it in our denomination and looking at some of the areas that we could serve at. Most of them are in Africa, but there was this one that was like.
Well, we kind of also, we should say, like, agriculture is a passion, interested.
Yes.
What we felt comfortable with, kind of a starting point.
Right.
And then, go ahead.
But then there was this one that was like Mongolia.
Yeah.
And we kind of made fun of it for a little bit.
Daniel was like, sweet, let's go live in a yurt. It's going to be awesome. And I was like, you're crazy. I'm never going there.
It sounds pretty awesome.
It was.
Actually, I think the thing he was most excited about was yak's milk.
Oh, the fermented mare's milk.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I was gonna get back around to that with some other similarities and like your cheese making, and I think in Mongolia they make cheese out of like wild mare's milk, and we also have like wild mares in our backyard here. So if you need a trial run, like
yes,
we can.
Oh yeah,
like,
I just can't wait to catch him.
It'll be a rodeo. I think they call that confrontational agriculture. Like,
I think you're right.
Like, if you were likely to get a bone broken.
Yes.
Wow. Sorry to distract you. Go ahead.
No, that's all right.
So we hadn't really decided, like we're a few years out still, so we're like, okay, we don't really need to focus on a location. It's not a really big deal, but hey, like it's exciting. Like let's try and see if we can get any leads on this.
Actually, to be completely honest, we were on our way to church, and Katie was sitting in the seat and looking over, and she's like, "We should really," because when we're talking to all these people about it, they're like, "Where's your calling for?" And we're like, "We don't know. We haven't."
Yeah.
And she's like, "We should really try to nail this down."
I said, maybe focus, try to ask God, like,
right.
2 locations, maybe,
Yeah. And we knew it was going to be a while because we have this debt that we need to get rid of, and we figured it was going to be about 5 years at the time, now 4. I said, no, we don't need to, let God do things on his own time. This is not something that we need to rush. Let's just kind of go with it.
Which is so typical. I'm a detailed planner, and Daniel's just like, we'll figure it out last minute. It's fine.
Well, we get to church, and, it's about like halfway through the sermon, and he's talking about, sacrifice. And now I don't want to say like God spoke to me, like the heavens opened up and the light came down and he said, Daniel, thou shalt go to, right? It wasn't something like that. But there was
the Spirit.
There was something inside me that was not of my own volition that was saying, your family is going to go to Mongolia. That's where I want you to go, and it's going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's very in line with the sermon that he was speaking on. And it went through and said, these are the things that you're going to have trouble with, and Katie and your kids. It's at the same time, if you've ever had an experience with the Holy Spirit, it's usually there's like a seal of approval kind of deal, and you just get like emotional. You're affected inside, so that you kind of know that this is a legit thing. And I was affected pretty greatly. So we went up, and I told Katie, I was like, I think we need to talk to the pastor.
Like like they have a prayer team that's up front.
So we went up and prayed about it, and just kind of.
Okay, can I just say that at this point, Daniel couldn't quite articulate what he was thinking or feeling, because he was still processing what just happened. Because feeling the Holy Spirit move and talk to you and like being like, wow, what just happened? It's pretty new for us. It's not something that we're used to, especially at this point. So he was, I think, in a little bit of shock.
Yeah, just trying to wrap my head around everything. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what happened. That's how we got to Mongolia.
Yeah, so we just kind of leaned into it. We were like, great, well, we don't have anything else to go off of, so.
Nice.
So, there you go. And, if it happens, then that's great. It would just be such an interesting, it's just kind of the way God works,
Right.
Why would he send us to Azerbaijan to learn all this Azeri culture and whatnot? And then, oh my goodness, he ends up sending us to be able to affect the lives of people in Western Mongolia, this subculture that ends up being so close to what we had learned about earlier.
Sure.
It would just be pretty amazing, I think.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm pulling for you to go to Mongolia, because then I have an excuse to come to Mongolia, because it's someplace I've always wanted to go. That'd be awesome. Right. We'll for sure come see you. Can I ask you guys like a really, and this is like for a lot of the listeners, like, I mean, like we talked about before the podcast, like we're just having a conversation, which is what everybody loves, right?
Yeah.
But I if it's okay, I want to ask you a hard question, kind of like from the listener's perspective. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So with this mission mindset, especially being American Christians, going to another place, with this mission mindset, can you talk to me a little bit about balancing, and I don't think there's an easy way to say it. So balancing, your beliefs, American imperialism, and the value of ancient local cultures. Does that make sense?
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm going to let Daniel lead this, because he's just better with words. So
because some people, like, I don't want to ignore that aspect of what you're doing, and I think it'd be a good thing to cover real quick if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. You did a good job of explaining some of it, and there's a sheep in my bathtub. But I think I love the way that God has created this world and people in this world to be so unique and diverse. Mm-hmm. And the way that we worship him is an expression of his creation. Mm-hmm. So if everybody was to worship him in the same way, that would be an expression of a monochromatic God, right? Which is not our God. Our God is the creator of all this diverse, wonderful we can't even describe it, how diverse and wonderful it is, because it's beyond our comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
Just all the living things in the earth and all the different way, physics and chemistry and all that stuff just works because our God is just so amazing in what he did in his creation. So these cultures bring that with them. Mm-hmm. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to see worship from their culture, mm-hmm. and it's something that we'll be able to participate in, but not fully. We plant the seeds for God, and God waters it within that culture.
Absolutely.
And
that's a great way to describe it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going to worship them in the way that they know, the way that God's made them to worship him. Yeah. So
we heard a story from a friend recently who served in China, was it? But he was hanging out with
some South Koreans,
and it was so great. He said that they worship in a way that's very loud, and like a lot of us over here, we're used to like, if there's music, maybe it's a little soft and just kind of in the background. It's very personal. But he said he was in a room with a bunch of Korean missionaries, and everybody was praying out loud, like hundreds of people just
saying their own prayers at the top of their voices.
Yeah, like everybody in the room.
Right. And so compared to that, we think of ourselves as being quiet, and yet,
right.
It's funny. I just had this discussion with another friend like yesterday. There are, and I'm drawing a blank on the names of some of these tribes in South America, like in the Amazon basin, that compared to us, like, are very, very quiet. Like, they will never, like, they rarely speak above a whisper. And part of the reason is that they're hunter-gatherer tribes. And so in a way, like, if you and me are out hunting, like, we're always going to whisper, right? Mm-hmm. And so in a way, culturally, they're like always hunting. So they always whisper. So like, if you're down at the boat and I need you to bring the fishing pole or the net or whatever, or the basket up the shore, and I'm 50 yards up the shore, if it was just me and you, I'd be like, hey, Daniel, bring the basket, right?
Yeah.
What they would actually do is like walk down to where we're within 2 or 3 feet of each other, lean their heads in, be like, can you bring the basket? Never mind, I'll get it, I'm down here. So like, right, just pointing out some of those cultural differences is awesome. And it just like, it just shows the diversity of all of us. I love it.
Yeah, definitely not about squashing it. It's more about embracing it and who God made you to be, and how you can just really tap into what he wants you to do for him.
We can throw another book.
Oh yeah, we have another book.
We can do a whole list. On the show notes, we'll do a whole list of books with links for people to buy them.
Okay.
or they can just do the audiobook thing, which, whatever.
Yeah.
So we're reading When Helping Hurts right now, by Steve Corbett and Brian Fickert, I guess. So it's When Helping Hurts. But their big premise is that God is already working in this community in his own way. This community has its own special gifts and special talents. They're just not able to tap them into them because there's relational problems. They're not relating relationally like they should, both with God, with their environment, with one another, with themselves, for whatever reasons. And he says, your job is not to go in there and bring God with you to these people. God is already there. You just need to open the doors, show them that God is there, and just sit back and watch God do all these things that that he's already got planned for them.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And I love how that kind of relates back to some of the other stuff you were talking about with like clean water and agriculture and food. It's like you said, God's already there.
Yeah.
And if you can help bring some of those other things that they need and open that door, like you said, God's already there. And maybe what he needs you to do is help these people with their clean water. And,
Yeah.
and that's what he's calling you there for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Good question.
the other part of that question, and maybe
That was a two-parter?
maybe
I didn't realize
it was a
two
two-parter because the other hot word that I used was American imperialism.
Yeah.
Do you maybe a better way to approach that would be? Do you think it would be easier to do that job if you were from Finland or Norway or Argentina versus the United States?
Mhm.
Do you think that people have a different perception of you and your motives? And I don't. Do you see kind of what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
With that,
I mean,
You want to go ahead?
well, the first thing that comes to mind is, I mean, a lot of times people, maybe not just the specific American part, but maybe just Westerners in general, is I think it's very common that people look at us and see money and power,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
just kind of tap into that right away. So that's my immediate thought about that. It's because you asked about how people see us differently, but I don't know how American versus European or whatever, if they.
I think that America does such a good job projecting itself out.
Yeah.
Not just like politically, but like pop culture really does
Oh yeah.
affect the
Mhm.
rest of the world in a big way. So people in other countries, that's kind of like we experience it in Azerbaijan. That's kind of what
Mhm.
they expect is what they see on MTV. Although
Yeah.
it's not MTV anymore, but
Wherever. Yeah.
you know, that's kind of what they expect Americans to be like. So that's what they expect you to be
Right.
like. When
I was
you
going to
grow
say
up.
something about Britney Spears, and I realized that was like
Wow. Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know who it would be now because, like I said, we're not trendy. We don't even watch. We don't watch cable. We don't watch. We don't do.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know, like Avengers.
Awesome.
Yes, I'm Captain America. I'm here to help you.
Well, yeah, nailed it.
So, I think that there's, I don't know. It depends on what culture you're going to, because
Yeah.
different cultures
Sure.
accept that
Hmm.
that Americanism in different ways.
Mhm.
Right, and I've seen that too. Absolutely, in different cultures, like some places. I'll give you three without being too specific. I'll give you three examples. Like certain places I've been to have been like, you're American from the United States, no factor, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And certain places are like, oh, you're American, so I have this certain expectation and my guard is up and I'm never going to,
Yeah.
fully accept what you have to say because you're American. And other places I've actually experienced like a certain level of surprise, like, oh, now you are now my experience of what an American is like,
Yeah.
which has changed my opinion and expectation of what an American would be like.
Mhm.
And oh, I had all of these negative preconceived notions, and now that we know each other personally, face to face, you're okay. Which I find is like probably the majority of people are kind of tend to be that way, where whether it's outside our country or even inside our country, a lot of people tend to have preconceived notions about another group of people until they're face to face. And then face to face, it's so difficult to have those preconceived notions, whether it's based on race or religion or whatever. Once you're face to face with that person, you're like, oh, now I know this person, and now you are my idea of this other group, and we're actually not that different.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, everywhere around the world, we're all growing up, learning from the culture around us.
Right.
And we don't realize how greatly it impacts us until those moments, you know?
Yeah. Well, and maybe you can speak to this too, but my experience traveling to other countries, when people ask me about my experience and they're like, oh, what are people like in, fill in the blank, whatever country. I'm like,
right.
They are just like people anywhere. They have families, they have friends, they have jobs, they have hobbies. They're just people. Yeah. And it's the same everywhere that I go. And the more you expose yourself to that, the more you realize that we have in common versus differences.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're so right.
But I think you're definitely right. Like on the base level, people are people. But then you start throwing in those cultural differences about, how people react to their environment around them differently than other people do. And I think once you go and you experience and you see that, it really helps you to appreciate the way that people do things differently. And it really helps to open your mind up to just possibilities, because if you grow up learning a certain way to interact with your environment, then that's all you know. And once you start seeing that these other ways are out there, it can be life-changing.
Yeah, your whole world perspective just comes alive, I think.
Yeah. And maybe that's a great way to wrap this up. Because we've actually been talking for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to have to split this one up into a couple episodes. But no, what you just said is a great way to conclude this whole discussion. And I so appreciate you guys for coming on the podcast, taking the time to talk about essential oils, which all seems so trivial now compared to like this deeper conversation that we just had. So I love it. And thank you guys so much. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And
yeah, well, just thank you for having us. Seriously, I'm honored that you would ask us.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this time that we spent together.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Good night. Theme music for the Master of None podcast is Club Seamus by Kevin MacLeod. Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. CreativeCommons.org. If you need some of your own original music, go check out Kevin's other work at his website, Incompetech.com.